Without a doubt, 2020 was a pretty bad year for most of humanity. And for me, it was really no different. I did pretty well up until from March up until the summertime. And then by August, and then into September, October, November, and December, things started to go downhill, for lack of a better word. There were a number of reasons for that, tension and anxiety being part of that, the underlying state of the world. Social isolation for me was a big part because I live alone. That was a big thing, not having, when the most social interaction you have with somebody or with other people is when you go to the supermarket and you see people in masks, and that's really all you do. And that's the most contact or human interaction you have. It's not normal. And I think a lot of us have realized the importance of other humans in our life. And it really has made me rethink, not the choices in my life, because, my choices were based on, the management or mismanagement of my body and what I could manage and what I couldn't manage. Relationships were difficult to manage. So, although these days they would be much easier to manage, but regardless, I don't look back on decisions that I made in the past as something that I could have done differently or would have even wanted to do differently, because all those life experiences got me to the point where I am today, or where I thought I was today, until life threw a curveball. So, in terms of business and my career and my profession, things have been going pretty well for the past couple of years. And especially ironically during COVID quarantine, I started to get a lot of emails, too many actually. And I really couldn't keep up, and it actually burnt me out numerous times trying to respond, and I just and scheduling sessions, and it just takes a tremendous amount of time and work and pressure because people are counting on you, and you can't always fulfill every request they have. And anyone who owns their own business or runs or is self-employed, you know that you just can't do everything alone. If you really want to expand, which I don't really necessarily want to do, it just takes, you need partners. It's so time consuming. The emailing and scheduling is just such a time consuming process. And then, doing sessions and the thought that I put into each person, that's something different. But what I've been dealing with the past couple months, and why I haven't been making many videos this month, and why I've kind of almost shut down my business for the most part for the past month and a half, has been in terms of not taking on new clients, or not many of them. It's because I developed this issue of, if I'm on the computer for too long, and particularly with Zoom or with any video conferencing, the tension levels in my head go up, and I've been getting, not tonight, well, I already have tinnitus, my ears have been ringing since I was 13, but a different sound. It's more like a hum rather than a ring. It's been more like a hum, and it depends. I hear it if I'm inside. If I'm outside, interestingly, the hum of the world itself covers up the hum that I start to hear in my head. And it was getting me very, very concerned, because even a couple Sundays ago, I sat down for 10 minutes on the computer and the tension levels just went way up. And again, that hum really increased, so that I just had to get off. So here I am trying to survive and make a living, and I can't even answer emails. I can't even schedule Zoom calls. Because it's hard to live when you have these autonomic tension-related symptoms, which I'm sure a lot of people out there can identify with, whether it's pain or other types of symptoms that you're dealing with. It does make existence challenging, for lack of a better way to put it. So that's what I've been dealing with, and I'm trying to figure out a way to make all of this work. And this, When Things Fall Apart, this is a great book. I got this book a number of years ago when something else in my life had fallen apart, and it was, I needed this book at the right time. And there's something I wanted to read, because you learn all these things, particularly through Buddhism, so that when these challenging times do come up in life, that you have a way to deal with it. And what she writes, I'm just going to read one paragraph. But what about suffering? Why would we celebrate suffering? Doesn't that sound masochistic? Our suffering is based so much on our fear of impermanence. Impermanence being, things that don't stay stable, which nothing does. Our pain is so rooted in our one-sided, lopsided view of reality. Whoever got the idea that we could have pleasure without pain? It's promoted rather widely in this world, and we buy into it. But pain and pleasure go together. They are inseparable. They can be celebrated. They are ordinary. Birth is painful and delightful. Death is painful and delightful. Everything that ends is also the beginning of something new. Pain is not a punishment. Pleasure is not a reward. And I was trying to keep that in mind. But when you spend so much of your life, all I saw was some weird symptoms because I can't be on a computer for too long, or I can't stare at a Zoom call for too long without these symptoms that prevent me from doing more of it. And, I just see, all my years of experience, all my experiences from my younger years, the experience with the chronic pain, the ringing, all the issues that I had, the emotional trauma that goes along with the chronic pain and a body that's not cooperating, all the 20-something seminars, the over $20,000 I spent on educating myself for the past 7 years of this journey, all the time I've put into the videos and the channel and just helping people and doing all this other stuff, like it was all coming down. It was all falling apart, like the book said. And so I'm trying to keep this in mind. Well, maybe this will be the beginning of something else. And I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't really working. It was hard for me to keep that in perspective because this is what I want to do, and this is how I want to live my life. This is my life. So that has been a challenge. But luckily, and the other ironic thing, the ironic thing is that my body feels the best it's felt probably since I was in high school. And now I'm 43, so that's a while ago. And I am able to run without pain. I can run up, I can do sprints, hill sprints, and I can run 2 miles, I'm at about 2 miles, and without my right hamstring feeling like it's going to pull off. I can do it without back pain. I can do it without tightening up. And that really hasn't happened since I was in high school. And even then, it was never really that comfortable. However, there is also some news in terms of some progress, I suppose. I may have figured out part of what's going on. So if you ever look up Zoom fatigue, it's a real thing. And just basically, humans were not designed to sit at a computer and stare at a screen all day. But also, your brain has to work really, really hard to decipher meaning out of communication. The communication that you're doing with people, when it's not live and it's over a Zoom call, or any other Skype or whatever, and sometimes the video is a little bit flaky. Sometimes the video and the audio aren't perfectly in sync. Sometimes it freezes, and you have to figure out what's going on. It's just very tiring. And the fact that you're staring at a screen, you're probably sitting in a room, everything is restricted, so you get tight. And that goes without saying. But I also found this book called Infinity Walk, and it's brilliant. And I just want to, Infinity Walk, preparing your mind to learn. It's about learning and about, preparing mostly children, but it's applicable, to adults as well, to anyone. And I highly recommend looking it up on Amazon and getting it if you can, especially if you do PRI. The author is Deborah Sunbeck, and this is the second edition. I think you'd want the second edition. So one thing that I found while reading this was she is doing PRI without doing PRI. She knows what this is all about. And this is all about getting the right hemisphere and left hemisphere of your brain to cooperate and work together. And her basic exercise is this figure 8 that you just walk. You can do it inside, outside, doesn't matter. But listen to the reasoning. And there's a figure 8 in PRI, but I'm pretty sure it came from this book. So I'm just going to read her reasoning for the figure 8 and why she's so correct. As our opposing limbs move forward, so that your left hand and your right leg and vice versa, your right hand and your left leg, As our opposing limbs move forward, both hemispheres of our brain work together simultaneously to create a perfectly synchronized movement between our arm and leg. Then, as the moving leg touches the floor, our weight shifts in order to bring the second leg forward and take the next step. What can't we do? We can't put on the left leg on the floor with the pelvis that turns to the left so that the right leg can swing forward. That's what we struggle with doing. That's called the left AIC pattern. At this moment, the hemisphere in charge, listen, at this moment, the hemisphere, the side of the brain, the hemisphere in charge of moving our leg forward must shift its control away from the leg and toward the same-sided arm that will need to swing forward during the next step. Simultaneously, this same hemisphere must give control of walking and balance to the other hemisphere. In order to maintain perfect flow and coordination through the full movement, each hemisphere must give up control as the other side takes over the responsibility for the next step or arm swing. This give and take of control between the two hemispheres must be done with perfect precision and timing. Without the complete cooperation of the full brain, we can end up feeling uncoordinated or slow in movement and motor-generated speech. That is what PRI is talking about. That's what PRI does. Only if she knew that there was an underlying right-sided pattern of right dominance, that would help her even more. But this is what we're trying to do with people. Restore the ability to shift from side to side to get those hemispheres cooperating. That's why when I constantly say, if you're only thinking in terms of muscles and bones, you're missing it. The right hemisphere and the left hemisphere of the brain. When we are doing techniques, if you're sensing your left heel and your left abs and your right arch of your right foot and the right glute and maybe your right scapula, maybe your left molars, maybe your right canines, these are all sensory input to get your right hemisphere and your left hemisphere coordinated again, to get them communicating across that corpus callosum that separates the two hemispheres. That's what we're doing. That's why this book exists. That's what she's trying to do. So I've been doing the figure 8, but what's more interesting is something that she wrote about. She believes, well, all humans are going to have a dominant eye, ear, and hand. Most people will fall under right eye, right ear, and right hand because we're all right dominant. That's pretty normal. But there are some people who are cross-dominant. So maybe they'll have a right eye, a left ear, and a right arm. Or a right eye, left ear, left hand, left arm. And when that occurs, that can be a little bit more challenging for the brain because it's just not the norm. And there was one paragraph that she said that got me thinking very quickly. Now, I've had a ring in my ear since I was 13. And we know my visual system was uncorrected for most of my existence. I probably should have glasses since I was a child. I only got them when I was 40. And then my brain was ignoring the image from my left eye, at least partially. So I had a number of issues. She says, let me find it. Okay, so she's talking about right eye, left ear, right hand. Just as if someone had this cross dominance. Disadvantages of opposite eye-ear dominance. Early confusion between when to allow the visual versus the auditory sense to take charge of learning can cause academic frustration and sense of failure. Switching between the two senses can also become tension-producing, causing tiredness or headaches. Now, I have hearing loss in my left ear. My right ear is relatively normal. My left ear in higher frequencies. They're pretty much the same. We pass 1,000 frequency, about 1,500, 1,600 frequency. And at that point, my left ear goes down. My right ear goes down also, but it's pretty normal. It's not anything that's considered real hearing loss. It's bordering on mild. But the left ear is actually going from mild and probably approaching moderate. And when I met with the audiologist, and this is for higher frequencies, so some speech, So when I met with the audiologist in the summer, because I only did that, I didn't think I had any hearing issue, but I just was interested. And lo and behold, I had asymmetric hearing loss. So she didn't really say much. She said, how do you feel? Like, do you think you need help? And I didn't even notice it. So I never noticed that I had any hearing loss. So to me, it was, no, I didn't think I needed any necessarily help. And so I don't even remember what her response was. So anyway, didn't do much. However, I started using these earbuds that I've had for years. They're New Hera. And what you can do with each ear, you can increase the volume separately, and you can also give yourself help in lower frequencies or higher frequencies. So what I experimented with this little aha moment, maybe my brain is getting confused when I'm staring at a Zoom screen, and maybe my brain can't figure out whether to use vision or hearing more. Maybe it's getting confused, and that's causing tension to increase. And so what I tried doing, or my other thought was, maybe because I've lost higher frequencies in my left ear, maybe I'm forcing my visual system to work too hard, and that's creating tension. So I started putting these buds in, and I increased the volume in the left, and I also gave myself higher treble frequency help. So I'm giving myself help in the higher frequencies, and I feel like it's made a difference. I'm still in the experimental stages, but I feel like I can be on the computer itself longer without tension increasing, without that sound, that humming sound increasing too much. And, I've done a couple of video calls where I've kept it to a very low level. And so for the first time in a long time, I'm somewhat encouraged. The other thing is this is the weird one. I know that I'm gluten sensitive, and I got a genetic test a couple years ago. And I never really felt a difference, though. I did go gluten-free for a number of months, and I got in great shape. I could see every muscle in my body because you just drop so much water weight. I got completely shredded, six-pack abs, everything. But I never really felt that different. So I thought back, I've noticed, or I think I noticed over the past couple months, that humming sound would get higher, would increase after I ate gluten. And I don't eat a ton of it, but every now and then I like to have a bagel or pizza or something. And I made that connection, but I just wasn't sure. So I've gone gluten-free again for the most part, and that, I believe, has also helped keep that hum down. So what is the hum? I feel like if tension has a sound, I feel like I'm listening to tension in my body. That's really what I feel like the hum is. Again, I only notice it inside. I don't notice it outside. And when I'm outside and come in, it's never there. But it will increase again over time as I'm inside. However, as I've been gluten-free and as I've been experimenting with the earbud by basically making it into a hearing aid on the left side, it's really helped. So I'm hopeful. And so hopefully in the future, things will get better, and I will kind of be able to go back to my normal videos and get my business back on track, and we'll see what happens. So that's it, and hope you have a great day.